G'day, Sammy P here. Grab Life by the Balls. We're doing Balls and All, episode number 3. It's all happening at Grab Life by the Balls HQ because we've got our little production manager. This is Jackson. He's running around creating havoc. And then we've got good mate Tyler Birch. It's about to become a Grab Life by the Balls wingman on the weekend. Tyler's got a pretty cool story. And obviously you can see we're pretty high tech here at Grab Life by the Balls HQ. We've got our outdoor plastic chairs. We've got the bar stool with the books underneath. It's all real, genuine combos, and we're going to keep it. We're keeping it real. So Jacko might run in and out from time to time. And rah, you want to say hello, Jacko? So Tyler's got a pretty cool story. We're going to have a good chat and go balls and all, or balls deep, whatever you prefer. Hey, Jacko! Tyler's had a background in construction. And some interesting stuff happening with that too. So welcome, mate. Great to have you here. We'll shake hands on the beach. So. Yeah, definitely. Hey, what do you reckon, Jacko? So welcome, mate. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm at a crossroads in my life at the moment. I've just moved to the sunny coast about 7 weeks ago, and just loving lifestyle change. So obviously met you guys. Really passionate about men's work and working in the men's mental health area. So I feel since making that effort to change my environment from Brisbane, definitely making the move.
Jackson's very happy. Jackson's been thoroughly entertained this morning. Hey, haven't you? It's like you've had the bulletproof coffee, hey? Oh, he's bang, he's the beanbag. It's all right, there's a safety cushion there. It's like his tackle bag. Yeah, mate. So run us through your journey, mate.
I guess to tell a little bit about myself. I grew up on a farming kid. I was thinking about, obviously we're going to have this conversation today, and the question of my journey and stuff is going to come up. It's interesting for me to think, to reflect back on my whole life and think, who am I and what have I done and stuff. I've never felt like I've fit in anywhere. I was the oldest when I lived with my dad. I was the youngest when I lived with my dad, and the oldest when I lived with my mum. I grew up in the city and then moved to the farm. I've kind of been at both ends of the spectrum, and I feel like that's shaped me in a really positive way. But I've always felt a little bit like I don't fit in.
Yeah,
and was a big part of the struggles I've gone through, and also the best things about myself, I think. So
it's quite hard to have a deep and meaningful conversation. Taking the room,
going crazy.
It's so much fun, eh?
Definitely,
isn't it? Yeah, he's just looking in the mirror at himself here, so that's what's going on there. Yeah, so it's a pretty interesting range, mate. Most people I'm the oldest, so you kind of it was always.
Yeah, I lived with my dad up until I was 7, and I had an older brother then, and not that I got picked on, but the little brother, cops it from the older brother, and then I was the older brother from 8 till 18, and I felt like both of those different experiences really shaped me growing up. So I really, look back on my time on the farm. I really enjoyed that. It's something that I still have one eye on one day in the future to move back to that lifestyle, because I do love the nature and the farm life and the bush and stuff. So, but really happy to be up here on the coast at the moment, and swimming with every morning 6:30.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. That's actually changed my life a lot. To be honest, so
they've been doing it 10 days.
Yeah, well,
or is it
3 weeks? 3 weeks.
Sorry, bro. Sorry, I didn't want to say short there. So, spent most of your time in construction. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, yeah. So I finished school and didn't know what I wanted to do. I undersold. Looking back, undersold myself at school. I don't want to say I was naturally smart or whatever, but I did have I like learning things, but I didn't put in the effort to study, and I chose not to get an OP, which then restricted what I could move on to, and I just fell into construction at the time. I was like a friend of a friend's dad, was like, oh yeah, cool, I got a job for you, because it was maybe March and I hadn't worked since finishing school, except for a few days at the Bottle Avenue Park. And I fell into it and I do enjoy it. Like, I like being outdoors, like working hard, like when you're in a good group of guys with a good, like culture, it can be fun, but very challenging, like physically taxing. So I've just moved slowly through different areas of construction. So maybe 4 years in Rockhampton, and then like I was just needed to move from there. So I moved to the coast and worked down here on a couple of the big road projects, and then I worked right up on the coast. So I moved to Brisbane, and I did like tunnels and high rises and bridges and all the big stuff down there, which I did really enjoy. But I also went through like cycles of, I would start a new job, then I would work really hard, and I'd spend like a year or maybe a year and a half, and then I'd kind of reach this point where I just wasn't fulfilled, and I'd be doing like 50, 60 hours a week. And then, so I'd turn to, drugs and alcohol to run from how much I wasn't enjoying my work, and then my work standard would go down, and then I would just get in this cycle where eventually I'd end up either leaving that job or I'd lose my job and go through a patch of depression and, like struggle.
Did you know it was depression at the time?
The word depression for me is something that I guess I didn't label upon myself. I understood that I was in a bad position in my life, and like my dad's a very spiritual man, and he guides me a lot, and I always kind of framed it like, something's wrong, I can feel something's wrong, like I've got something to learn or I have to do something different. And I always had faith in myself or the universe that I would pull through eventually. And when I look back, it's interesting because a lot of the times I put my position, this is a good way to put it, I put my position in life down to my circumstances around me. Oh, like my job was really hard, so like I went out and binge drank 4 nights in a row on the weekend, and then but then work's done this, and I did blame a lot on where I was in life, on what was happening around me. And it wasn't until I started to, I don't want to say blame myself, but see that I was a common denominator in this cycle that was happening, that I actually really made change. So it took me not a long time. I was ready to learn it when I was ready to learn it. And it was,
those lessons kept getting more aggressive, I suppose. Where I always forget how to do it.
Feather, stick and truck or something.
A bit like that. So, it's getting like that. Yeah,
it definitely was. I would say I had a feather stick truck for every patch. Yeah. And then it wasn't until I hit what I thought was rock bottom at the time that then I actually made a change. And still, it wasn't like I would come through, but then I would get into a position and repeat that cycle. So I definitely feel that like construction had a part to play in it, but it was as well me as much as it was where I was in life. And I've always had I don't want to use the word issue, I've always had a thing with binge drinking. It was a way I identified myself. I had a lot of like identity issues. As I said, I didn't know where I fit in my group of friends. When I left school, I was so different to who I am now when I was 18. And my way of, I guess, being important in my group of friends was to be that guy who was like, and I would buy all my mates' shops, and I was that guy, and like I'd be like some weekends going out Wednesday to Sunday, and I'd always be up for a good time, and I'd be the last person, and I'd be at my mate's place at 10 a.m. the next day or whatever, still drinking beers. And that was like looking back on that and realizing that was maybe at some stage when I was like 18, 19, I decided to make that centerpiece of who I was as a man and who I was going to be. And that was one thing that I carried with me through all of my struggles, all of my low points. I turned to that part of me to get out of it. And that was where a problem was, because I would just drink my problems away become that mad dog again. Hell yeah, we're going out on town like on a bender, and then I'll just cover whatever I'd done with that, and I'd get back with the boys, and we'd all be like, hell yeah, and it'd be like 6-9 months later, I'd be like, I'm back in a good place again. I'm loving life because I'm spending 5 days a week with my group of friends, and I'm obviously in a really good mental place because of that, because I'm having a lot of male interaction, and I'm really enjoying it. And then I would, generally what would happen, I'd get into a relationship, and then my same problems would arise in that relationship as what had happened before. And lo and behold, a year and a half later, I'm back in the same spot. So then I turn to the old me that I had a lot of focus on and go, all right, this is who I need to be now to get out of this. So, but I still like that part of me. Yeah. It is part of me. Yeah. But I guess as I got older and the more trucks I got hit with, the more I realised that there was so much more to me than that guy who's like out on the beers and is always up for a good time. So
there's so many things to talk about there. Like we're talking with Heath, and thanks for sharing too. I can see that I can feel you. Yeah, I'm digging back. But it's like with Heath on the episode number 2. G'day everyone, thanks for being here. With Heath on the last episode, he was talking about rites of passage and that sort of thing. And although the first step to grab life by the balls is pretty much stepping up and taking responsibility for where you're at. Otherwise, it's fucking useless. Yeah. But the cultural thing, and I don't know if it's a sporting thing or not, but the rites of passage seems to be like going out and getting pissed for the first time. It's like almost a rite of passage because there's nothing else that really signifies that you're not. You maybe get your car and your license, depending on which state you are, what age you get it. But the big adult thing is like going out and being pretty much having a rad night, sometimes not remembering, but being hungover. Like being hungover the next day is like a badge of honour. Like I went hard last night. Like look at me. Yeah. And it's really interesting, hey?
Yeah, and that's like drinking was part of my family's thing. Like most people, we had a big farm, so we'd have massive bonfires, and like
bonfire this Saturday night. FYI.
Yeah, definitely. And we'd have massive bonfires, and like it would pig on the spit, and like I do look back on those even as a kid. They were great nights out there. Like we had a pool table, so like loud music playing, no one can hear you, but I then converted that onto myself. The topic of rites of passage is definitely, I guess in Australian culture, it revolves around drinking, going out with the boys, like whatever way you see it in your own group of friends. There's, but there's definitely something lacking there. Like we've lost what we used to have and have just replaced it with, whatever's easy.
Getting shit-faced.
Getting shit-faced. Yeah, definitely. So,
that's really really interesting. So and that's really cool. Like you also touched on like the different personas, but it's interesting how you talked about that you also own that part of you too. Because like I think when I talk about the particularly the inner prick, which is that voice that's always giving us the shits, like always giving us ourselves a hard time. That can be quite full on. And the research says, like I was looking at yesterday for our workshop on Sunday to become a wingman. It's like about 80,000 thoughts we have a day. 95% of the time, they're the same thoughts we had yesterday, and 75 to 80% of those thoughts are negative.
Yeah.
So it's not about just positive thinking, because positive thinking would be way too fucking hard. You've got to change. You've got to change.
Yeah.
It's like 50,000 thoughts you've got to try and keep up with during a day, which is like fucking impossible. That's working with that, understanding that that's going to come up. But I think it's working with that, which you seem to, by owning some of your stuff and knowing that's a part of you as well. It's like rather than trying to say, nah, that was never me, and push it away and push it down, and the more you try and fight it, the more it comes through. Is that what you're kind of?
Well, that's when obviously thinking about this, it was something I definitely want to talk about, and like it's called I call it owning my dark side. Like there's like a few books that I've read, they do talk about it.
Write that down.
Yeah. And owning my dark side is just acknowledging that it's part of me. Like I love to, hang out with the boys and enjoy myself in that way. Like to feel that connection with the guys in that environment. I do love it. I really do acknowledge that I can take it too far. Definitely, which
we've all done.
And there's like 3 stages of owning your dark side where it's like you're just completely unaware of it. And it's just something that happens a lot. And it's like this thing that you don't like, and I never used to understand. Sometimes when I'm in that situation, I just go with it. And then it becomes like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, where like you're aware of the dark side.
The Hulk.
Yeah. So you're aware of the dark side, but you choose not to acknowledge it. You know it's there, but it's kind of like, oh, that's not me. But it will continue to come out if you don't give it a way to release itself. And then, you know, where I feel like I'm at now with that part of myself, I understand that's who I am, and I can own it and use it like to be part of me. Like but it's not who I am anymore, and it doesn't control me. There's still times where I'm going to slip out of that, and I know that that's just being human. That I'm not perfect. I definitely relate to the negative thoughts, and I want to be perfect in my own mind. I do. I put that pressure on myself, and by doing that, I actually take away from a lot of opportunities because I'm just kicking myself for not being perfect in that moment. You know, so that's it's something that's probably been my mental cycle for my whole life. Yeah. So, and that's something that is another thing that I'm owning, that, you know, I know that I want to be perfect, but I'm trying to just do little steps now, because I would always want to go big and grand and do that perfectly, but could never achieve it. So then I just give up. Yeah. The idea gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and like it's a great idea, and then it like becomes like something huge, like worldwide, global. Global. Let's do it. And then you think about, I know. Yeah, that's way too much. I'm a dreamer. Like all my friends know me. They know, like I do. Your ideas, man. Oh, I love it, and that's the castle would say. Yeah, that is definitely that's something that, you know, I really like about myself, and I've been faced with a proposition at different points in my life. Like, do I want to be that person? You know, like I've had really bad, negative things happen to me, and I've, you know, nearly converted to the dark side and gone, you know what, fuck it, fuck this, I can't be this person anymore. And, you know, my dad, I'd say, would be a big influence in me staying true to that part of myself, because I really do like it, but now I'm learning to manage it with a little more action. Yeah, cool. So, yeah. Well, and that's just part of learning, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, I can think of footy examples, like players making the same mistakes over and over. Like I can think of automatically, for the cricket people, I just think of Shane Watson always getting out. Most frustrated and always referring it. Oh, no. But, you know, you're constantly like, and like with my my cricket background, like you try and train the crap out of this bad technique. You're doing it from like, I need to get rid of this part of my game, I need to work on it. And then you go into a game and then you're doing it again. It's like the more energy sometimes that you focus on that aspect, the harder it is to work through. Fully relate to that. Yeah. Playing footy, I did a little bit of union, and I played it. They put me in the fullback, and I was always played in the forwards in rugby league. And I dropped a ball like a bomb in one of my early matches playing with the club. And I was normally pretty good, but I dropped balls for like maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and I built up so much in my own mind that when the ball was coming towards me, I was saying, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball, and I'd drop it. And then my coach, I had a really good coach, he started to really notice it, and he worked on me to say, like, I've got this ball, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. And then once I did that, and that become ingrained in my head, I can't remember dropping another one. Yeah, well, I might draw that, because I've noticed, like, I haven't drawn this, and there's a video that I just put up, check it out. Kenny Waterson, this and that media, it's awesome. But like we talk about inner prick. How's that? Can you see that? Oh, it's a bit. Anyway, inner prick is that, like, that voice in your head, and as soon as something starts going wrong, you kind of get stuck in that, and just becomes a bit of this is a bit of Joe Dispenza. The thought, you have a thought, and then because you're firing off that thought, your body sends out all the hormones and the chemicals and stuff, so you start feeling that feeling that goes with the thought. So then you go, oh, I'm thinking that. How does my body feel? And my body's telling me that I am feeling like the thought, and then it's this self-perpetuating circle. And then in that situation, like, it only takes one instance, you keep going around in this circle,
and it becomes a spiral like all the way down, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck is going on? So we need to break that cycle by changing that self-talk, having a bit of a routine. That's what one of the things we do with the workshops and stuff is change that routine, change that focus. But the first thing you've got to do is take responsibility and become aware that that's happening.
It's happening,
And it's not that it's not going to happen. Like John Bradman made a duck. You know, every footballer's like knocked on. You know, everyone stuffs up from time to time. But
what you do after.
Yeah, and that perfection. I haven't touched on the perfection with the inner critic, but it's such a massive thing about not wanting to get things wrong, or that perfection, or the fear of failure sometimes as well. How much that can overburden us, that can put so much weight on our shoulders, can be so suffocating that it leads you to a point where you don't want to do anything. You just want to lie on the couch because then, you know, like, I'm not going to do anything wrong. Or I'm not. It's like, it's just safer here. I don't want to show the world how imperfect I am, or how.
I can relate to that, and that will probably lead in well to what led me to moving to the Sunshine Coast.
Thanks for asking that question.
And I spent a period of 6 months on the couch. I finished a job in construction that I really didn't enjoy. I worked full-time for a company, and they were like, it was just stress. It was unorganised, and I spoke up a few times and ended up just getting pushed down into traffic control because they just wanted me away from the site. And even then I still caused trouble because they were doing a lot of unsafe and dodgy practices. And I just rotted away on the side of the road for 6 months holding a stop-go bat, which I don't mind. Like, work is work. But for myself, mentally, it was really, it killed me. Like, after that was when I was at my worst. And I left that job and was like, I cannot work in construction anymore. I'm done. Like, it's not me. It's not what, like, doesn't fulfill me at all. And I felt so empty. I turned, you know, I just wanted to escape from that position in my life. So I've battled, or I've had addiction problems, especially with weed. That's something that I use to escape. It's something that I also was, in a strange way, one of my biggest fears, that I would become that person. And then I did. So that was really... With weed, you know. And that was really hard for me to face that. That's one of the things I talked about in my dark side. I do acknowledge that I do have an addictive personality because I love, like, if I find a good thing, I'll be balls deep. I'll be in it. You know? But if I'm, like, equally, I have learned to acknowledge that I can be that person in bad things. And I hid from that. And I sat on the couch for 6 months because I was paralyzed with choice, because I had all these grand ideas that I wanted to do, but I had no idea where to go, how to start them, you know, what was right for me. Like, I was looking at doing all these different uni courses, but I've always felt like, you know, that 4 years of my life, especially in my current position, I could spend better, you know, starting somewhere, like getting the experience in. And I just, like, I didn't know what to do. It was really, that was the hardest period of my life. And it, like, reached a point where I broke up with Maddie, who's my girlfriend, and easily the person that...
Hashtag batting above the average.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Easily, she, you know, means the world to me. I love her with all of my heart. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd be where I am now, because it was her love through all of that period. And because I left her, because I didn't know what was wrong, but I basically isolated myself from everything else in my life. Like, all of my friends, my mates, like, I just become such a shell of who I was, and so withdrawn inside of myself that the only person left to blame was her. And then she took the weight of that, and I broke her heart. So, but through it, as we moved forwards, we were the only people who understood our situation, and we talked and kind of counseled each other. And it was during that period, actually, like, my dad came and picked me up, because I was, and I like sharing freely and openly, because I hope that guys can, you know, either relate to my story or learn something, or at least be happy to, you know, share their own. I was living downstairs at a good mate's place, just smoking weed all day, just completely escaping. I was 30 years old, had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. Like, looking back on that, I really believe that if I'd have been in that scenario for, a more extended period of time, that I don't know where I would have wound up, because I was thinking about not being here anymore, because it's funny, like, I love myself and I love my life and I love everything about life. A lot of people would say that I'm one of the most positive people, but when I put myself in that position, that it was my only way out as I got further down that spiral, and I was pretty far down. And it's funny because it was just a chance conversation that I had with May, that I stayed hanging out with her longer. Like, this is when we were separated. We had a really long conversation, which then made me bump into my friend Billy on the way home. He wouldn't have been there. And then I spoke to Billy, and Billy was like, you have to call your dad. I knew I had to, and I was hiding from my dad because I knew that he would speak truth to me and straighten me out. But I was, once again, just running from the problems that I created in my own life. And so then I called my dad, and he was at work and with just tools down and came pick me up. So that nearly saved my life, to be honest. So, and looking back, I'm very grateful for that, and for May, because her strength through that helped me be strong enough to make the choices to own myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it's obviously hard for me to look back on that, because I'm emotional now, because I look back and realise almost how silly I was, but that also it was so necessary for me to go through that to learn what I had to learn. So can't even remember how we got onto that.
No, you did well, man. Thanks for sharing that. But yeah, that's when I talk about like being a prick. Like I suppose I've had an interesting 15 months looking for my own identity, and it's all even more frustrating when I kind of talk about this stuff, and I know the stuff, but the wisdom of actually doing it is so different. Like everything's easy, but it's the practice of actually doing it. And it's that inner prick. When you get to that point, I'd imagine, like I know for me, and my situation's wouldn't have been as anything like yours, but that inner prick becomes so consuming that, and then you believe it's true.
Yeah.
You think that that's true, but everyone else outside can see that, can hold it. Like May obviously did a great job of just holding that space, and your dad's obviously a legend. We'll have to get him down to the bonfire or something. Yeah.
Well, he's at King Roy, so
that's not too far. We've got Jason. If Jason's still there, I caught up with Jason on the weekend. He's a King Roy lad, or lives out there, not from King Roy. But so Jason was planning on coming to the bonfire. So cool. We'll see where we go. But that's so we're taught to rely on ourselves from a very young age. Yeah, and not to show that emotion and not to talk about it. But if you keep it inside, it's the same. I forget whose quote it is. I'm going to have to look it up so I can quote it, because I'm sure it's the other ones. But that same level of consciousness created the problem can't solve the problem. And when you're in that inner prick and you're spiraling down and things are getting shit, the only reference you've got is how shit things are. And that's all just inside your head. Sometimes you just need to offload to someone.
Yeah.
And whether they, so not even if they, but sometimes you don't have to say anything. You say it to a brick wall. It's just getting it off your chest. And it's like, actually, that wasn't as bad as what I thought it was inside my head. Yeah. Or, holy shit, if you sit down and in a coaching situation or counselling situation or psychology, that sort of situation, just highlighting that is that actually true?
Yeah, and
because it's only true in our heads.
That's right, and that's for myself in that position. Like I believe what happens in my own head, as you said. Like we all do, and that I was good until I really isolated myself. Like I was struggling with my position in life because I'd say for maybe 6 years I wanted to move away from construction, and yet I was still so unsure. Like I had all these people saying to me, "Oh, you'd be great at this, you'd be great at that, you'd be great at this." I wasn't passionate about any of it, so I kind of, like fell in and fell out of different areas, or interest in different areas, and it was when I isolated myself that I was only in my own head. And as much as May tried to help me, I wasn't ready to help myself. So that was a big thing. It wasn't until I was with my dad and we went through everything and I laid it all on the line and I was fully aware. Was fully aware of my actions. That I was able to start to make changes to them. So
yeah, absolutely.
It was the biggest period of learning in my life, hands down. I'm looking back now, it's given me the purpose and my direction that I want to head to, which is working in men's mental health. I'm very passionate about it because I've challenged through it myself so many times, and I feel that I love hanging out with men in circles of men, and then putting, and seeing men.
What are you doing, Jacko?
Seeing men be happy. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, look, that smile,
like
eh?
that.
Like that smile, eh? What have you got?
It's got my water bottle.
So yeah, obviously May held the space for you, and it's got a lot to, got a lot to thank her there for.
Yeah, definitely. She believed in me, and that was enough for me to believe in myself.
And then your dad sort of came through as well, and held that space and let you get it off. What else? Moving forward, what else has helped you? Not just come off the bottom of the ladder. Yeah. What's helped you excel moving forward?
There's been a few things. I've gone. I went down to garbage truck. Yeah, you can hear
is that what it is? The garbage truck.
Yeah,
I'm going to take it. He loves the garbage truck. Everybody, that was Jackson. See, buddy. It's like they know too.
Yeah, that's right. It's a perfect time
when the energy is heavy and stuff. They're just he's straight in with the smile. Hey?
Yeah. So I had a few. The big one was me owning myself. That was the big thing, and being honest about everything was a huge. It wasn't until I was completely honest that I could move forwards. Even when I was with my dad and talking with May, that was a really big thing. And that the moment I made that decision. Completely honest, I was I'm owning who I am and all the shit things I've done. Then I started to move forward. So that to me is my turning point. And I've done a few things. I went down to a business and personal development thing down in Sydney, which was that was really interesting, learning about my own psychology and learning how my mind works and what goes on in there. So again, it was an understanding of myself and getting involved actively with men's groups and being, being in a environment where I can be who I am, the man I am, the good and the bad and the ugly, and openly talk about that and realize that the men still care for me. Even when I've told my deepest, darkest secrets, that they still support me and loved me. That was a really big. I got a lot out of that personally as myself because it gave me confidence in owning that side of myself. So, because it's something looking back on it, if they could love me as I did that, as I told them, some of those things, then how could I not love myself? Because I do love who I am as a man. There was just parts of me that I was embarrassed or ashamed of, or I didn't like the inner prick. So, and that was I started that earlier this year, and I'm definitely feeling the confidence move through my life now. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, because we're I don't know if you know, but we've known each other less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks now. So
so that's pretty.
I reached out to you when I moved up because I moved away from my group in Brisbane, which I still do see. We head down every fortnight. But which we might as well give to you. Common Ground.
I
did Common Ground, which is a 9-week program for men about finding common ground amongst each other. So we're just all strangers, and we go through. It's a little more. I don't want to say ritualistic, but a little more set. It's in a circle, and it's about sharing and listening. Really just accepting one another for who we are, and then finding common ground and building a really good relationship of support there, and not trying to fix one another, which is something that Like, I'm really trying to tone back and just accepting people and myself. Not trying to fix myself, but just accepting myself. So,
yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's May and I, we both do it. Either of us have a problem, and I want to fix it. I really do. I just want to like help her. She wants to help me more than anything, and it's an innate thing we both have inside of each other. Yet, at times, we just need to like hear the other person and just accept it and support them. And then a lot of the times, as you said, once you start saying the thing and you let the person really tell their story and how they feel, then they just go, "Oh my God!" Like it's so simple. I can see it now. Like rather than me dumping 100 ideas down on how she should do it, how I think she should do something, or how I think I should do something. So So Common Ground was a really good experience for me. It was recommended through like a guy I met, John Broadbent. He has actually written a really good book called Man Unplugged. I'd actually recommend. That book actually did a lot for me too. It's a really interesting look about a man's journey and understanding it and understanding signposts. So I'd love to give John a plug there because he has done wonderful work with that book. So
yeah, cool, epic, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So moving forward, like you're obviously you approached me and you really got me to pull my finger out of.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of guys around that have been wanting to help out.
Yeah.
Help grab life by the balls. And you instigate it, and then someone else put their hand up as well. So we're starting the grab life by the balls wingman certification. That's it. It makes sense when you add certification. So we're doing that on the weekend. Moving forward, what's the go for you?
So my number one goal is to get out of construction. So I really want to work in mental health. Preferably, I have found a good role as a peer support worker. So that is using my lived experience with mental health, with depression, anxiety, addiction, and helping other people who are going through something similar, which I feel is where support in that area is heading. Like, I'm not a big fan of the diagnose and fix. Oh, this is what's wrong with you. Oh, you got to fix it. Like, as I said,
guys hate that.
Guys hate it. Like deep down, we know what's wrong with us. But if we're just telling us that, oh, you're a failure. Oh, you've got this. So now you're in a bad place. I really feel that it's just supporting one another, building each other up, like men and women. But building each other up rather than diagnosing, putting someone in a corner, labeling. So and obviously working with you, mate, and with guys on the sunny coast. I'm really excited about that because I don't want to. I would like to have as much time for my kids when they come, and that's something that I see as an opportunity in Grab Life by the Balls to build a lifestyle where I can help men and be really fulfilled inside of my work, which is something that I've craved my whole life. Yeah. So I'm excited to, I guess, get out, meet all the guys because I've only been here a few weeks. We swim every morning. If you're
Mooloolaba Beach, the play equipment just next to the surf club, 6:30 pretty much every morning. And then Jackson cannot be contained in any other coffee shop, so it has to be at the Hustle and Flow coffee shop, which is just under the surf club at Mooloolaba Beach. We'll be around there. Just drop us a line. We get a bit of a crew from time to time, depending on what day it is and that sort of thing.
I haven't had a bad day since doing it because
it's amazing.
People say to me, "Oh, have a good day," and I think to myself, "Well, I already am because I've hit the water and
watched the sunrise, got in the water, had a coffee, a bit of movement, a bit of connection." Kind of ticking every box.
Yeah, so it is, and really excited to move forwards and I guess create a support network on the Sunshine Coast for men who are coming through their different stages in life, because we all from 18 to 50 we all have our struggles, and women included. It's part of what's happening in our society. It's life, and we're gaining awareness more around mental health, and I do feel that we are lacking in some areas, systems and applications on how to actually help each other. Well, this is speaking from my own experience. I had all this mental health awareness that I was in a bad mental place, yet I was lacking systems and applications. So it's probably better that I own that and say that I would like to be able to help guys in that situation that I was in. So, and I'm very passionate about it.
Because like we talked about on Saturday night, or Friday night. Friday night, we're talking about talking about there's a lot of when the shit hits the fan, there's a lot of things around now.
Yeah.
But there's not so much in place before that happens. Yeah. And you know, because this is why next week we'll be talking to the women.
Yeah.
Is because they can see that, you know, from around that, I don't know, that late 20s, early 30s, they can see that inner prick, and they can see the vortex that's being created and sucking men down. That men very rarely, most likely, do something
until it gets,
and when shit gets real.
Definitely, and that's the space that I would like to work in. Is that building that resilience, building awareness at the top, and helping people, as you said, before it's like a last-ditch attempt. And I know as a man, and my mate will probably laugh about this, that I'd leave things health-orientated till like, you know, like I had a bad tooth, and it was until the tooth had to be completely pulled out that I went and got it looked at. Yeah. So I do definitely acknowledge that that's part of me too. So I don't know why men are like that or I'm like that. That's something I haven't quite come across yet, but yeah.
Yeah, mate, this has been epic because you've like touched on everything, you know, that I think of with Grab Life by the Balls. It's been in my head. Yeah. You know, like you've touched on the inner prick. You've kind of, you know, you did the good boy thing. Like you jumped into construction just because that was there, and no one's ever really asked you what you really want, or there was no structure around getting clear on what you really want. Yeah. You know, you're starting to notice more recently now that you've got your goals, you've got your vision around how you want to live, and then looking for everything else to fit that rather than the other way around, which I think is where we get caught. And then all of a sudden we have a lot of debt, and, you know, there's no place to go, and it's all real suffocation. You stood up, you took control, you took responsibility. You know, you're the other one, you know, that's part of while we have all the catch-ups and stuff, you are the people that you hang around. So you want to hang around some good blokes and women. You know, you touched on May and your old man and Billy. You know, having a chat there. You know, you're starting to get clear on that vision. You understand what's really important to you now. It's like everything that's about Grab Life by the Balls, mate. So, mate, thank you for opening up. Thank you for sharing. That was huge.
Thank you. Thank you for
massive.
That. Thank you, mate.
We'll put some links in. Send me a personal message. There's some guys I know that have recommended psychologists around the Sunshine Coast. So they're on board. They're willing to help. There is ways that you can get free visits. You actually don't have to pay for them, I'm pretty sure, through allied health professional stuff. Send me a personal message if you want to know about this. This obviously isn't counselling or therapy or anything like that. Please reach out to someone who's a trained professional. If you want that, send me a message personally, whatever. That's cool. There's a couple of people around the Sunshine Coast. I'm sure we can reach out in our greater network to find people where you are. We'll put a link to the Facebook group for Common Ground if you want to check that out. I'll try and track down a link for Man Unplugged. Yeah. You know, we touched on owning your dark side, which I think is a really cool one, and that perfection that comes with that inner prick as well, that inside our own head, how everything should look, which is a little bit, you know, of the, you know, social media stuff that we're conditioned to looking at all the time these days. And owning that dark side, that's an epic one. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, not just being, and I suppose I only talked about negative and positive. It's the yin and the yang. You need a little bit of both. You just want to balance them out so they're a bit more even. Yeah, essentially, right. They're both going to be there. But owning your dark side and, you know, taking responsibility for that was huge, mate. Is there anything you'd like to touch on before we finish up?
No, just thank you for everyone supporting Grab Life by the Balls, and hopefully we see more and more men come on board, because I think everyone, even women as well, like, should be looking to experience something like that, where we can get into a place where we can be open and honest about ourselves, because I got so much out of that. So, you know, I would...
Like, mate, then your conversation today has helped that. Like, you've blown the lid on so many things that guys would be holding in and not talking about. So whether they don't need to talk about it, or whether they, you know, they're going to reach out to you and talk about it by sharing your story, mate. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So if you're watching this live or you're seeing this is in the Grab Life by the Balls movement. This is the Facebook group. The Facebook group and the mailing list are our VIPs, our special members. So you guys see this first for about a week until we post it publicly. So this is for you. We're creating this stuff. So any feedback would be great. If you have a look where I've posted the actual iTunes podcast link, if you're liking this, can you give it a 5-star rating, because that bumps up how many people see it, and to spread the word, to blow the lid on all this stuff that guys and women, but particularly guys, are going through and aren't really owning, stepping up and sharing and just keeping it all in. And it's all consuming. Have a look at the suicide stats. Have a look at stats around men's mental health. 1 in 2 pretty much men will have had or will have a mental health condition. I'm sure that number will go up when they do the stats again. And 6 men every day in Australia are committing suicide. So we're not the answer for that, but we definitely want to help out in that space. So check us out. We are the Grab Life by the Balls movement on Facebook, Grab Life by the Balls movement on Instagram, grablifebytheballs.com.au. If you want to go there, there'll be a pop-up and you can pop your email in if you prefer emails. If you're in the Facebook group, there is the bonfire this Saturday night. Bonfire at Budgie Smuggler Brad's place and Megan, Holistic Lifestyle HQ, Lifestyle Coaching HQ. We're having a bonfire. It's going to be epic. Nevo's got plenty of wood apparently at work, Nevo. So it's going to go off. And there will be a talk for the women Friday the 10th.
Friday the 10th, yeah.
It's definitely the Friday, whether it's the 10th of August. I'm pretty sure it's the 10th of August.
Yes.
CK Whole Foods on the Sunshine Coast. A bit of a trial run. So if that works really well and the women get behind that, that probably becomes a webinar. So any questions, that women that want answered, or if you're watching this somewhere else or listening to it, send us a message wherever you see the comments or all the links pop up. Just get in touch. We want to, really grab life by the balls. We want to step up. We want to take responsibility for our actions, take control, start moving forward and start living life on our terms and making that fit in with everything else rather than the other way around. So thanks for being here. This is Balls and All, episode number 3 with Mr. Tyler Birch.
Thank you
very
much, mate. Really
Hashtag grab life by the balls. Get amongst it. See you soon.
See ya.